The Piper Alpha oil platform, once the world's largest oil producer, suffered a catastrophic disaster on July 6, 1988. A series of operational mistakes led to a devastating explosion and fire, trapping 87 men in the accommodation block. Workers faced extreme conditions, including toxic fumes, searing flames, and structural collapse. The explosion was triggered by a failure in communication regarding a maintenance operation on a condensate pump, allowing pressurized gas to escape. This incident remains the deadliest offshore oil disaster, with a total insured loss of $2.8 billion. Survivors endured lasting psychological and physical scars, while the oil industry reevaluated its safety standards. The sheer scale of the catastrophe, combined with the company's reluctance to halt production, highlighted major flaws in offshore operations, leading to a reexamination of industry-wide safety regulations. The disaster was set in motion when a routine maintenance operation on Pump A went unfinished. The safety valve was removed, and a temporary metal cover was hand-tightened onto the open pipe. The responsible engineer left a note stating that Pump A was not operational, but due to a communication failure, this information never reached the night shift crew. The document detailing the safety valve's absence was stored separately from the general pump inspection permit, leading to critical confusion. Under immense pressure to maintain production, operators searched for a way to restart pumping and, believing Pump A was safe, made the fatal decision to switch it on. This seemingly minor oversight had disastrous consequences. The failure to track maintenance records properly, combined with the high-stress environment on the rig, created a lethal scenario that would soon unfold in flames. Adding to the platform's vulnerability, the automatic firefighting system had been switched off at 7 p.m. This decision was made to protect divers working near the platform's underwater intakes from being sucked in. While this precaution was necessary for diving safety, it left the entire rig without an active fire suppression system. Further compounding the risk, divers had placed rubber mats on the steel grating below Module B to make it more comfortable while they prepared their gear. These mats, meant for convenience, prevented oil from properly draining and allowed flammable substances to accumulate. With the firefighting system disabled and flammable materials collecting in dangerous areas, Piper Alpha was unknowingly set up for a catastrophe. When the explosion occurred, no immediate firefighting measures could contain the inferno, allowing flames to spread uncontrollably and sealing the fate of those trapped inside. At 9:52 p.m., operators, unaware of the missing safety valve, attempted to restart Pump A. As gas flowed into the system, the weakly secured metal cover failed, releasing high-pressure gas into the atmosphere. Within seconds, a gas alarm sounded. But before anyone could react, an enormous explosion tore through the platform. The blast destroyed fireproof walls, obliterated the control room, and sent shockwaves throughout the rig. Operators were thrown from their feet, and those resting in the accommodation block were violently awoken. The explosion also severed key communication systems, preventing coordinated emergency responses. Fires erupted instantly, fed by oil and gas lines that continued pumping fuel into the disaster. Panic spread as crew members scrambled for safety, with many instinctively heading to the muster point in the accommodation block, unaware that this decision would seal their fate. Despite the visible destruction, nearby oil platforms, including Claymore and Tartan, continued pumping oil and gas to Piper Alpha. Neither rig received immediate approval from their headquarters in Aberdeen to halt operations, fearing financial losses. As a result, enormous amounts of fuel continued feeding the inferno. The pipeline supplying Piper Alpha was designed to handle vast quantities of crude oil and gas, making the fire nearly impossible to control. Meanwhile, as the fire raged, the accommodation block became a death trap. Thick black smoke and toxic fumes engulfed the area, suffocating those inside. With communications down and emergency protocols breaking apart, chaos overtook the platform. Without proper firefighting measures or a way to cut off the fuel supply, Piper Alpha's destruction became inevitable. The refusal to halt operations in time directly contributed to the scale of the disaster. As the situation worsened, search and rescue efforts began. Helicopters and rescue boats rushed to the scene, but intense heat and flames prevented them from reaching trapped workers. Some survivors made desperate attempts to escape by jumping into the North Sea from heights as high as 175 feet. Though officially prohibited due to the risk of fatal injury or hypothermia, jumping was the only chance of survival for many. The MSV Tharos, a firefighting and rescue vessel stationed nearby, attempted to control the flames with powerful water cannons. However, the force of the water was so strong that it posed additional dangers to the crew. Meanwhile, those trapped in the accommodation block faced an agonizing wait, as fire, smoke, and collapsing structures sealed their fate. The scale of the disaster overwhelmed rescue teams, leading to a tragic and unavoidable loss of life. The situation reached its breaking point when the Tartan pipeline ruptured at 10:20 p.m., releasing 30 tons of gas into the inferno. The resulting explosion sent flames 300 feet into the sky, forcing rescue vessels to retreat. At 10:50 p.m., another pipeline connected to MCP-1 failed, triggering an even larger explosion. The sheer force destroyed a rescue boat, killing all but one person on board. By 11:45 p.m., the structural integrity of Piper Alpha had been compromised. The accommodation block, still holding 87 men, collapsed into the sea. The remaining sections of the platform soon followed, sinking into the North Sea. Of the 226 workers on board, only 61 survived. The fire continued burning for over 3 weeks, leaving nothing but charred wreckage. The disaster's magnitude left an indelible mark on the oil industry, prompting immediate calls for reform. In the wake of the disaster, a public inquiry was launched, led by Scottish Judge Lord William Cullen. His investigation revealed severe safety failures by Occidental Petroleum. The inquiry determined that poor maintenance, lack of communication, and inadequate safety protocols directly contributed to the catastrophe. Piper Alpha had been operating under outdated and dangerous conditions, prioritizing profit over safety. The Cullen Report issued over 100 recommendations for improving offshore safety, leading to the creation of the Offshore Safety Act in 1992. Occidental was forced to pay $220 million in settlements to victims' families, but no criminal charges were filed. The tragedy exposed the need for stricter regulations in the oil industry. Companies worldwide reevaluated their safety measures, and new protocols were established to prevent similar disasters. Despite these changes, the lessons from Piper Alpha serve as a stark reminder of the risks of offshore drilling. The Piper Alpha disaster remains one of the worst offshore oil catastrophes in history. It changed the landscape of oil rig safety forever, forcing companies to implement stricter regulations, better communication systems, and more reliable fire suppression mechanisms. The human cost of the tragedy, with 167 lives lost, remains a painful reminder of what can go wrong when safety is compromised. The survivors, many of whom suffered lifelong trauma, played a critical role in advocating for change. Memorials were established in Aberdeen to honor those who perished, and the lessons learned continue to influence modern offshore safety protocols. Piper Alpha's collapse highlighted the dangers of prioritizing profit over lives and led to regulatory overhauls that still shape the industry today. The disaster serves as a haunting but necessary case study in industrial safety, ensuring that such a tragedy never happens again. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit the like button to support the channel. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's biggest disasters.